This is Robert Merdlacci, the Mindshare Learning Report, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine. I'm at the Education Research and Development Institute conference here in Palm Springs, and welcome to another edition of MindShareTV podcast. I'm your host, and today we're thrilled to welcome a true leader in educational technology, Bill Bass. Bill is the past president of the ISTE Board of Directors and serves as innovation coordinator for Parkway Schools, where he oversees instructional technology, information, library, media, and federal programs. With deep expertise in digital learning and instructional leadership, Bill has been at the forefront of guiding educators through technology, integration, AI adoption, and evolving landscape of digital education. Bill, welcome to our Mindshare podcast this morning. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Robert. I'm really glad to be here. It's been a great couple days here in Palm Springs, and not just because it's Palm Springs. Had some great conversations and really been able to connect with lots of folks from all over the country. So it's been good.
Well said. That it's that human connection, right? Post-COVID, how important that's been. And I know a lot of students have struggled. And let's get into it around ed tech as past president of ISTE and an innovation leader at Parkway Schools. You've had a front row seat to the evolution of ed tech. And, pre and post-COVID and in COVID, it's been fascinating times. How do you see the role of leadership evolving in the digital learning space, especially with AI playing a bigger role in education? Dr. Steve Jordan's my co-chair of our Canadian EdTech Summit this past year, he coined the phrase the great snapback. When we talked about the impact of technology, I never imagined, or perhaps you didn't either, 100% of educators embrace some form of tech-infused pedagogy, which would have never happened in our lifetime necessarily, in our careers.
Certainly.
And here we are today.
Yeah, I think that we, there was once upon a time, right, when the internet became and we started using this in school, there was this promise of how technology could potentially change learning and be a catalyst for really supporting kids in all the different ways that we want them to be supported. And then as time goes on, we had to figure some things out. And back when I was in the classroom, I started teaching in the late 1900s, right? With as many of us did. But when we think about that, we just didn't have the opportunity that we do now. And I think that the thing that, when we talk about leadership and we talk about digital transformation and the role that technology plays in our classrooms, it's inextricable from the learning process now, whether that is accessing information, whether that is creating, whether that is communicating ideas and thinking together. Technology is going to play a role in that. Sure, you can do it without technology, but in a lot of cases it's more efficient, it's more effective, and then you also have archives of the thinking that has happened. And I think that's one of the things that I continue to go back to. We're not, when we have conversations, even our conversation right now, the fact is that we're recording it, and we have the ability to access it in other ways, and so do other people. So our thinking isn't just relegated to this moment in time. It can be shared out, in many spaces. And I think that's a really special, we're living in a special time. It's a hard time. Right. We're still figuring lots of things out. It's tough, but it's also, I'm encouraged and super excited because of, the role that AI might play in how we teach and reach kids in ways that we never even thought we could, because we didn't have the time, we didn't have the energy, we didn't have the wherewithal to actually differentiate or personalize or just connect with kids in ways that we do now.
Fascinating. So let's talk about AI and the digital transformation. You referenced it in K-12. Is AI's revolutionizing classroom, or there is the promise and potential? We've got some great use cases, part of C21 Canada, We have a national project in collaboration with school districts and CEOs from the boardroom to the classroom. And so we couldn't have imagined a decade ago what's happening today. How do you see AI reshaping instructional technology and library media services in school? And what advice do you have for educators who are just starting to explore AI in the classrooms? I know across Canada, some school districts haven't even started down that path. They haven't put together their guiding principles as of yet. They're dipping their toes. And then we have others who are way ahead and have been embracing AI for the last couple of years.
I think so. I think that we have again. It comes back to that opportunity, and there are lots of places that are doing really great things and really working hard at trying to figure it out and trying to understand the way that technology can and AI specifically can really be referenced and found in our world. The other thing that I think is that we have, when it comes to AI specifically, it is going to change the way we teach kids. It absolutely is, but that doesn't mean we're going to take the human factor out of it. It doesn't mean that we want to take decision making away from teachers or away from families. What we want is to be more effective in our decision and have a broader sense of what it could be. Because that's the thing that AI does really well right now, is it brings all of these pieces together, things, and makes connections that we wouldn't even think of in our time. And so, you mentioned libraries. Libraries are going to be a hub for pushing AI and they're already pushing technology. And it's not, and I don't want to say pushing like forcing, but supporting. And when, what if a kid comes in and they need to do a project? Well, what if we use this tool? What if we tried it in a different way? What if there's all the what ifs, right? And so I think that the questions of what if are the things that we will continue to find answers to over time. And I really think AI is going to help us find some of those answers.
Fascinating, balancing innovation with equity and accessibility. With the emerging technologies, there's always concern about equitable access. And I believe that AI can be a game changer in that regard and provide more access. What strategies do you recommend to ensure that all students benefit from digital transformation regardless of their socioeconomic background? I know during the pandemic, the Toronto District School Board shipped out 70,000 devices to homes to ensure that every student had a device and internet access, free access.
Well, I think, one of the things that I think AI can help us with is deciphering and determining how to solve some of those problems, right? And because the language models have more information than we individually do, right? And it doesn't mean we're going to trust it to do it, right? It means that we're going to utilize it in the service of doing it, of figuring it out. And so I think specifically when it comes to equity in our world now, I truly feel it's no longer an option. And so many kids have devices now, regardless of grade level or whatever. I'm not going to say that we fixed it, right? There are plenty of places without access to either computers or to connectivity. However, the bigger gap I feel like is that we will continue to fix, right? We'll continue to, devices will get cheaper, internet will get cheaper, all that, but and the accessibility that comes there, but the experience that we provide kids, I think, is really where the equity gap comes in. Where it's an equity.
Right.
We don't have I don't want all kids to have the same experience. I want all kids to have an experience.
Yeah, and the personalization.
And be able to make sure that they understand what the role is for them in their lives, not because we told them to.
So what is the role of faculties of education in preparing future teacher leaders? Because some are innovating and others I'm hearing aren't.
There's lots that aren't, but I think we're going to see new models.
Right.
And I think that part of it, it's not just teacher prep programs. It's also on school districts for who they hire and what prep programs they come out of. So we have the ability to push back on and through our hiring practices and through what we think we need from our teachers. And I know we don't have enough teachers. Like we have a teacher shortage, right? And so
that's the conundrum. So cheap teacher shortage, and then you want to hire teachers that are tech savvy and pedagogically strong.
But then it's also on us.
Right.
As district leaders,
for the ongoing
professional development and support of those, we really have to surround those teachers, whether they're new teachers, whether they're struggling teachers, whether they're veteran teachers. We have to surround them with ability.
That's a great segue to my very next question around professional learning and ed tech. With the rapid pace of change in technology, professional learning has never been more critical. What are some of the innovative approaches that Parkway Schools or ISTE has taken to help educators continuously upskill in instructional technology?
So I think the biggest thing that we're doing and can do right now in lots of organizations, right, is provide connection to others. And that's because the professional learning, the content is important, right? The pedagogy, the tools, the understandings, the learning is important. But the connection that you create between whether it's between content and an individual, whether it's between individual and individual, those connections are the thing that keeps people going. It's not the brand new AI tool that just came out. Like that's cool and all, but that's not gonna satisfy them over their career.
It's about people.
It's about people, and it's about connecting people to each other
and leveraging those tools that strengthen and storytelling.
Completely.
How important is storytelling in this new normal, if you will?
It's funny because so many people, like we have kids that I hear, I don't like to read, and I don't like to, and we have teachers that don't incorporate story into their classroom and things like that. But story's all around us. Everywhere we look, there's a story being told.
We're storytelling right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so we have to think differently about what storytelling is. It's not always fiction.
And model for students.
And then model it on the other side. And so as teachers, the experiences we design for kids are going to be the ones that are going to allow them the opportunity to tell their story.
Right. And of course, ISTE is known for, their professional certification and the ISTE conference and providing professional learning. Let's talk about ISTE's role in preparing the next generation teacher.
So I really think that ISTE has made giant strides. Probably, in the last 10 years, they have kind of revitalized their some of their conference stuff, especially after COVID. Like that was rough. We had to do a virtual conference and we had to put it together in 6 months. And so by the time, after that, we continued to tell the story through virtual spaces and by connecting people. And that's where I think conferences and like ERDI and ISTE and bringing people together in a convening is really strong and really important because of the learning that goes on there. And I think that specific to ISTE, their certifications and all that, they're leading the way when it comes to how the role that technology plays in schools, in classrooms, and the balance between our digital lives and our physical lives, and how that balance looks, and is something that we have to all explore.
Absolutely, and that's a good segue to my next question around AI literacy for educators and students. ISTE has been at the forefront of digital literacy and AI ethics in education. I've seen some recent developments in social media. What are some of the key skills and competencies educators and students should develop to be AI literate in today's learning environment? I know ISTE has the 4 C's.
Yeah.
Fullerton has 5. we went for the stretch objective. C21 Canada has 7. I can't remember them all the time. But, the critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity.
Yeah.
There are some things that AI doesn't do well or can't do. And it's that human ingenuity. So, but when we're preparing kids for a future that isn't clearly seen, we've come of age. And it's about these durable skills.
Well, and I think that's a really, really, really good point, because AI is here. If we choose in education to ignore it and ignore the realities of it, then what we're doing is we are ill preparing our kids for those very durable skills. And we talk about it in terms of, okay, well, yeah, but they're interpersonal skills. If we just have them talk to each other more, that's not going to do it, because they have to be able to communicate, and it sounds weird to say, but they have to communicate with AI too.
Right.
They have to, but we also have to have a healthy skepticism.
Right.
Understand when and where it's appropriate to use and engage with, and those are the things that I think when we talk about AI literacy. Sometimes I struggle with the term, because I really think it's just like literacy in the digital age.
It's about multi-literacies.
Here we are.
Right.
AI illiteracy is a moniker that we put in front of it in order to, kind of say, oh, well, if we teach kids AI literacy, then we're good.
we didn't call it .com literacy.
We did not, but we call it digital literacy. We call it, we call some of the durable skills.
Yeah.
It's all literacy, information literacy. It's all literacy.
Right.
And so I think thinking about it more broadly can help us think about it more narrowly.
So trends and innovation shaping the future of education. We talked about the top trends yesterday. Kathy Hurley, the legend, she received her Lifetime Achievement, Can-Am Lifetime Achievement Award in Toronto. Love to present you with one of those one day, but you got to get to 50 plus years in your career.
Good to know.
You got a long way to go, being the youthful man that you are. Beyond AI, what are top EdTech trends that you believe will shape the next 5 years? And that's really crystal ball glazing at the pace that we're going in K-12 education. Are there any specific tools or strategies that excite you? And talk to me about the importance of learning environments. We talked about that. I have a co-working innovation center in a shopping mall that we love hosting interns and co-ops and entrepreneurs, and we see the magic happen every day. And hence I'm writing the book, The Art of Networking in the Digital Age, or I changed the title, The Future Work in the Age of AI.
Yeah.
And your playbook to harness human connection to thrive. It's a bit of a play on words, but the environment, there was an Edutopia article that I shared, 16% improvement in student learning when you have the right conditions in terms of the environment as well.
Well, and I think those conditions, the environmental conditions also have to do with the individual. And the way that, just like we want to personalize learning, we can't have a personalized space for every kid, but what we can do is provide spaces that are flexible, as you're saying, and that's where I think libraries come in, that to provide that flexible space so that kids can learn in a space where they are not just comfortable, but where they're inspired. And I think that's really important. But I also think that the digital spaces that we create are as important as the physical spaces, because as we are engaging in learning through technology, we don't have just the physical space anymore. It's the digital content, it's the experiences, and bringing all those things together. The balance is huge, and I think that we absolutely have to pay attention to the spaces that we're creating, but not think of it only as a physical space.
Physical can be digital.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And speaking of space and in learning environments and work environments, here we are in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I've taken advantage of, focusing on my well-being at certain points of the day and going out hiking, and the mountains really speak to me, and how important is that to be outdoors for a kid's mindset, for your own personal mindset?
Yeah.
what do you do to kind of balance it off?
I think I love being outside. I love exercise. I love working out, and I really think that we are we have to be intentional about taking care of ourselves. And during COVID, a lot of us kind of reset, right? And
That's a good term.
and had to consider what we were doing a little bit differently. And some of those habits have continued. Many of them have not, because we get back into our busy lives. And so I think one of the things that I continue to go back to is, we have to take care of ourselves and the people around us, because that's when it all shakes out. We have a responsibility to our families. We have a responsibility to ourselves to take care of ourselves and really
Model for the students.
and help
Right.
them learn what works for them, because it's not everybody is the same in those cases. And when we try to pigeonhole it, it typically doesn't go as planned.
Question for you around technology use and screen time.
Yeah.
I hate to look at my stats on
Sure,
this
yeah.
week because we multitask a lot. We've been off devices more this week, being here at ERDI than normal. But I struggle with balancing because of what I do.
Yeah.
Publisher of a digital media, e-magazine, and everything else that we do. Many of the school districts and provinces in Canada implemented banned cell phones in schools, mobile phones. What is your policy? What is your view on that?
So we are in Parkway. We are going to put in some restrictions. We're still going down the path and determining what those are. I don't think that cell phone bans is a celebration.
Right.
Because I think we're taking away an authentic tool that kids that they need to learn that self-regulation.
Yeah.
And so if we're out, we're done, and they don't have somebody at home doing the modeling, modeling that you're talking about, then we're leaving them to their own devices, literally, to figure out how to manage this and how to self-regulate. And so we're not supporting them along the way.
Right.
Even if they have parents at home that are doing great things and modeling those things, everybody struggles with it. We have to teach us how to struggle with it and how to have that productive.
Well said. It's got to be purposeful, and there's got to be some exceptions. If you're using, if you have a class in English and you're using your device to record and storytell, that's an example of why you should have access to it. So if it's purposeful, and it's there should be exceptions, not a full-out ban. I know some school districts are buying into this program where each student gets a pouch.
Right.
You hand in your device.
Right.
There are emergency situations. Parents sometimes need to get their kids. You've been through that as a parent. I've been through it.
Yep.
That was the catalyst for us to give the first cell phone to our kids in middle school.
Yep.
Quite a long time ago. There was no internet connection at that time.
No, I know.
Right.
Yep.
So, but time will tell how that evolves, and it's mindful, I think, to be a little flexible for sure. So let's touch on ISTE before we wrap up. It's continued to influence nationally and international and global technology. ISTE's been instrumental in setting standards for digital learning. How do you see ISTE's role evolving globally in supporting educators and education leaders? I know one of the reasons it came to me about 3-4 years ago that I noticed some of the leaders, like yourself as an example, and other leaders, superintendents who go around and speaking at conferences, that I get it, because when you're speaking and you're sharing your learning and you're bringing back new knowledge to your respective district. So, from how do you see ISTE's role evolving globally in supporting educators and education leaders as we move deeper into the age of an AI driven learning world?
I think a few things. First of all, ISTE is a connector of educators, and that's when we think about that international space. We're connecting people from around the world around education in the hopes of making students' lives better. That's really what it comes down to, and better through education. And so if you believe that education is the path through whether it's poverty, whether it is famine problems, all around, all the problems that we have, right? If we believe that education is a catalyst or a light through that darkness, then organizations like ISTE that are connecting people are going to be helpful in that. I also think the connection now between the merging of ISTE and ASCD and that the curriculum connection with the technology connection is something that ISTE's been working on for years and trying to bridge that gap. But because they have now merged, I think we're going to see far more leadership potential out of those connections that are being fostered.
Right.
So I think that's really what I think the goal is.
Fascinating.
Well
said. What advice do you give to aspiring leaders like yourself?
I think so.
Did you have a mentor along the way who inspired you?
I mean, you have to find your people, and you have to find somebody who is going to not just inspire you. I think that the inspiration is important, but I also think, and the mentorship is so important. But you have to have somebody to learn alongside, because you're never going to pave the way all by yourself. You always have people with you, in front of you, behind you, and that is, I guess the biggest piece of advice is look for opportunities and take advantage of them when they're presented to you. Because if you're worried about the timing, or if you're worried about the expense, whatever the worry is for you, we have so many ways to connect now. So you really look for those other people who you can surround yourself with that are going to push you and support you, and that you can learn from. And they shouldn't all agree with you.
Absolutely. No, you don't want to preach the converted, because that stretches you, it challenges you. What gives you hope?
I have an unrelenting faith that we will be, that technology and that technology will help and transform learning. And we've seen it. Is it where we thought it was going to be? No. But we also didn't see necessarily really CC AI coming as it has. We didn't see the advent of phones that go everywhere with us, where we can access information wherever we are. There's lots of things that happen. There wasn't a clear path, and there won't be going forward either. We just have to find our path along the way. And so that gives me hope that we are, as a people and as educators, innovative and thoughtful and intentional about where we go.
Well said. Bill Bass, it's been an insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise and leadership on the future of instructional technology in an AI-inspired world. Any final thoughts to share for educators and leaders to navigate this rapidly changing landscape?
I think the only thing that my final thought is just be bold and brave. And you're not going to get it right every time, but if you're bold and brave and willing to, and I would also say humble, make sure that you've got all three of those, and it'll take you a long way.
Well said. Great advice. Our tagline for 2025 is "Be bold to transform."
There you go.
Incidentally, thanks again for this awesome MindShare podcast, and this concludes our conversation with Bill Bass. Be sure to check out www.mindshare Learning to get your latest issue of the MindShare Learning Report. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.